Happy New Year, TTL Squad! If you're just joining us for the first time, my name is Sarah Bradley, and I am the founder of our music, entertainment, and pop culture digital media brand, Setlist Media.
And I'm Neven Bertotti, Setlist Brand and Artist Relations Manager. And this is the Guest List Podcast.
Our guest today is a director and producer who holds the title of Chief Content Officer at Youngry.
You probably know him best for bringing the Jonas Brothers' Greetings from Your Hometown tour into your home via the Samsung Plus live streams.
Please welcome Jason Aron.
Hey guys, happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. We're so happy to have you.
My absolute pleasure to join you while I drive home.
What sparked your interest in directing and production?
It's a great question. I kind of had a fairly natural progression into production through photography first. I've always liked technology. I was a huge tech nerd. Anything that I can get my hands on that was like had a battery in it or you plugged it in, I was always pretty interested in. In the early 2000s, I wanted to start getting into photography. It was an interesting time. Like in the late 90s, early 2000s, things started to become like more affordable. I remember growing up, like getting a video game system was like the craziest thing. It was so expensive. It was fairly exclusive. And then as we got into the 2000s, it started being like everyone had their own computers and stuff like that. Um, I'm not as young as I look, all right? So I do remember a time when having your own computer was like a thing. It was kind of a runaway train. So I got into photography. I wanted to buy like all the fun, cool, expensive stuff and get better lenses and get better cameras. But like the only way to do that for me at the time was to figure out how to make money on it. So that,
Yeah.
and then at the time, DSLRs were sort of like the rage, and the Canon 5D was kind of the first camera where you were able to have a camera that you could also shoot video on. And that transition where you could shoot video on basically a stills camera, that was like kind of, remarkable. And being able to do that like just opened a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to hear a little bit more about kind of your early career too, and how you got to where you are now, how you turned your interest into your career.
Yeah, kind of by accident. A lot of people, that's one of the things they want to know, like, oh, what did you do? Like, how do you get to, I was like, don't do what I did. Like, you know, it's a fun story. It's an interesting story. It had a lot of twists and turns, but traditional, definitely no. It was really through events. It's kind of the short answer. Aside from like family events, I don't know that I ever got paid to shoot an event as a photographer. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but certainly not consistently, certainly not as like as any living, maybe a one-off thing here or there. But once I started getting into video, that definitely changed. I started shooting like weddings and things like that, and that became a business. It started as a hobby. I was doing it sort of as like a one-off thing, and then from there, that just changed. I had a partner, his name is Brian. He and I went into business together. We essentially had a production company that was doing primarily events. I think we both wanted to do more either corporate stuff, sports stuff, like that kind of thing. And it took time. Eventually I started working with a company called Malka, two friends of mine, or a friend of mine, and then later became a friend of mine. The three of us started this company with Brian, and that led into a lot of the opportunities that kind of got me to where I am today. The idea of that company was to be a corporate production company doing both sports event-based stuff that turned into corporate video, like internal corporate stuff, turned into live, turned into music, turned into sports. It's funny, Nevin, that you introed me as like you probably know me as the guy who brought the Jonas Brothers, because while it is certainly true in 2026, I actually had my first big break in 2015 with a little documentary called Back in Time, which was a documentary about Back to the Future. So that opened a lot of doors for me. I guess now going on 11 years ago.
That's awesome. And that's kind of funny. My aunt and uncle live right in front of the mall where Back to the Future was shot.
Amazing. The
Yeah.
Lone Pine Mall. I have been there. It is not really the Lone Pine Mall, but I have been there.
Now, what exactly is Youngry?
Last year was its first official year as a company, but it really started 12, 13 years ago when I just started working with Malka, and we were our first retainer client was a supplement brand called Shreds. And at the time, Shreds had really almost invented influencer marketing. Um, my current partner at Youngry, his name is Ankur Garg. He was one of two partners back at Shreds, and essentially they took some of the biggest fitness influencers in the space at the time, turned them into brand ambassadors for their supplements, and the company just exploded. And through that, they needed companies to do video production for them, and they were our first retainer client. So that's how I met Ankur. We kind of lost touch, regained touch a bunch like throughout the years. Ultimately, they had brought in their own internal video teams. That company ended up really, for better for worse, falling apart. And so, he needed a new he did a bunch of different things throughout the years. And then I also had a bunch of different opportunities like through Malka. And a couple years ago we kind of reconnected, and basically he said, I want to start a new marketing company and I want you to be the production arm of that marketing company. And we joined forces last year. Essentially, if we had to describe it in a super simplistic way, we are a marketing company, and I run production for that marketing company. Ankar's CEO, although he wears a lot of different hats. And we've just in a year of business, we've done a bunch of different, really interesting projects. Some basic corporate video stuff, but I actually directed a 5-week reality series on peptides during the Jonas Brothers tour. So
Oh my gosh, you were
um,
busy.
yes, it was a very, very busy fall. One thing that was nice is that, and a lot of people have asked about, I know I'm jumping ahead, but a lot of people have asked about, oh, we get all the Jonas Brothers shows. They did 72 shows. We were not. There was another director whose name is Kevin. There's a lot of Kevins in the Jonas Brothers world. And he was their day in, day out director on tour to do like the in stadium jumbotron stuff. We came in to do the Samsung TV Plus live streams. All of those were on Sundays. So basically, we were shooting this reality show, and I somehow, as the director and both the production company, I was able to like manipulate the schedule of the show enough that I could disappear on Saturdays, go to a Jonas Brothers show, and be back on set Monday. To me, that's like fun. Like to kind of have that insanely hectic schedule. I mean, it's just yeah, love it.
That's so much fun. And since you brought it up, I think that we can definitely jump ahead because I know a lot of our listeners are big Jonas Brothers fans and would love to know
Love it.
how this opportunity came about.
Yeah, that's another one of those stories that if you try to replicate it, good luck. So my production partner on the Jonas Brothers, his name is Shai Kleiman, runs a company called SC Events. We have been working together also for about 15 years. We actually met doing events. At the time, he was primarily a sound company. I was doing video. We became good friends, and then I brought him into Malka to handle a lot of AV stuff, from lighting to staging, projection, LED, that sort of thing. And at some point, he also got into broadcast video specifically. So basically just broadcast, whether that be IMAG, live stream, that sort of thing. And I've always been his director. So we have a great partnership together. And this goes all the way back to, I guess, March, if I'm not mistaken, of 2025. He had an insanely busy day. I think he had like 5 shows on the same day. And so he was trying to figure out how to crew them. And the irony of this is that I was directing a big concert for him later that day, like in the afternoon, evening of that day. This is on a Sunday. Earlier in the day on the Sunday, he had this super easy. It was a race at the American Dream Mall in New Jersey.
Oh,
So it was just
I
like a
don't know.
5K. Yes. It was a 5K, and all we were doing was projecting. Like we had cameras spread out throughout the mall. It was it was technologically challenging. Shai had actually worked in this entire solution, but to be able to like wirelessly transmit cameras back to a control station, then have me cut the show. I mean, I say cut the show. We're talking about cutting between cameras with no sound that just projected on their internal mall system, and then kind of run everything back to the mall system. So from a directing standpoint, like on a scale of 1 to 10, this is a 1. And from a technology standpoint, it's in the upper region somewhere. But as irony would have it, one of the guys from Team Jonas, who was very responsible for building JonasCon, which was at the American Dream Mall,
Was.
was scouting, and they were trying to figure out some solutions on how to bridge JonasCon. I mean, for your Jonas Brothers fans, they might be familiar with what this was. For those that aren't, the Jonas Brothers basically took over a mall for an entire day. It was all these cool activations. Obviously, they were there. They performed. Franklin performed, but they didn't just perform in one place. They had to perform all over the mall. So they had three stages. One they called Jonas Beach, which was in the water park. Then they performed, I think they called it the Sky Stage, which was on the ice skating rink. And then they were out in one of the concourses. I don't know what they called that stage, but those are the three stages. And essentially, they needed a way to connect all these things and connect cameras from one place to the other and whatever. And we met with Hank on their team, and he was just like, "Yeah, these are my guys to do this."
That's
The
awesome.
irony of that story is that going back a few years, I had been working with Amazon Music for a couple of years at Malka. I had already directed concerts for Tate McRae. I've directed concerts for, um, geez, I mean, so many different artists. I worked on Thursday Night Football for 2 years for Amazon Music, and literally, the team at the Jonas Brothers knew none of this. So, like, we were not vetted in that way for this show. I think to them, this was a massive undertaking to do Jonas Con, and they just needed a team that could like make it work.
Mhm.
And they knew that we had already been working at American Dream, and they're like, okay, like these are our guys to make this work. And then ultimately at Jonas Con, they did a big performance that aired on YouTube. I directed that, and it went well. So
Clearly.
after, yeah, so after Jonas Con, a couple weeks go by. They were getting ready to go on tour. They had to deal with Samsung, and they needed a company that could stream five concerts. And they had a good experience working with us, and they called us. And then the rest, as they say, is history.
Definitely.
What excited you most about that opportunity? What was like probably your favorite part?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the Amazon Music experience was an interesting one because it was very corporate in a way. We did a series for them called City Sessions, and I think it was not only corporate because of Amazon. It was corporate. I was still with Malka at the time. Malka had become very corporate already at this point, and everything's like almost like annoyingly buttoned up. And although we had a lot of creative input, Corey Minichi, who directed a lot of those shows for Amazon, who I worked with at Malka. He also was on the Jonas Brothers tour. I brought him on as an assistant director. Um, it was a very interesting working relationship. I had ended up producing and stage managing a lot of those shows for Amazon for some of them, and it was a little bit of a back and forth. But I think with those shows and that opportunity, it was a different vibe. This series itself is super cool. Like we were doing concerts with like Chapel Roan for 20 people. Like there were 20 people in the room, period. It was like a very much like, I don't want to call it tiny desk because that was not the vibe, but it was like a fully produced concert, but for made for TV with no audience. That was the vibe.
Really interesting.
Um, yeah, and I've done a lot of big shows that nobody's ever seen. For artists like cultural artists that are like they're not mainstream. So those productions are massive productions, and there'll be 3,000 people. I mean, we've done them in arenas too. Like I've done arena shows that like nobody will ever see, but they were huge. And the Jonas Brothers tour was really like one of the first opportunities I've had to direct arena and stadium shows for a household artist and also have creative freedom. So to put all three together, it was a unique opportunity. I say honestly, like I was almost surprised with how much creative freedom I had on it. A lot of times, especially with artists of that size, you just expect that you're going to go in and they're going to tell you every button to press, everything to do. I've been asked that a lot of times, like, oh, how much input did the brothers have with like your camera selection? I mean, the answer to that is unequivocally zero. Like, there was not ever a single conversation about camera placement, what cameras I want, where the camera should go. Shy and I had the opportunity to kind of build that out ourselves. So I said, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Obviously, there were budgetary restrictions. So, if you really pay attention, one of the five shows we had a Steadicam. That was the only one we had a Steadicam on. We had some version of a cable cam on every show. I think doing it at MetLife, and this was sort of an interesting thing. We had a 2-point cable cam at MetLife, which for those that don't know means it's kind of exactly what it sounds like. There are two connection points on a cable, and the camera runs between point A and point B. So while the camera head can be moved in 360 degrees, the physical space that the camera takes up is in a straight line. By the end of the tour, we were using 4-point cable cam systems. Once we got indoors at the arenas, they can kind of move in 3D space physically, as well as the head moving in 360 degrees and tilting up and down. So just more movement, more dynamic shots, stuff like that. But in the 5 shows, we had 4 different iterations of that camera. And that wasn't the Jonas Brothers like dictating to us what to do. Like that was us being creative, working within budget restraints and stuff like that to like make it happen. I also wrote all of the pre-shows.
Oh,
The first pre-show for MetLife, I worked very closely with Chase, who's the Jonas Brothers musical director, and Franklin was involved as well. The 3 of us kind of got together and sort of put a show together. But that was the last time we ever had a meeting about about one of the pre-shows, in terms of like actual run of show and what was going to be said and stuff like that. Samsung's creative team, Jonas Brothers creative team, like they had a lot of input in terms of like show format and stuff like that. But then they would hand it off like to us and just say like have at it. And I think the biggest instance of that was New Year's Eve. I mean, ultimately, that show was a show. I think, for the 5 shows that were officially Greeting from Your Hometown shows, the MetLife show was very involved.
yes.
Um, there were a lot of things that kind of like were not built to be streamed, and then we had to work around it. Obviously, it's no secret, like the Demi Lovato performance was never aired. That had to do with licensing and things of that nature. And so we had to figure out, like, okay, well, what do we do while she's on stage? Because, like, we're still live. We worked with that and, like, we came back into the pre show area and stuff like that. And that was a lot of logistics. Outside of that, once we really got out of MetLife, it was like, okay, let's keep the pre show simple. And then, there were some fun things like the last pre show we ended up doing on stage. So Franklin hosted the show, and this is sort of like a fun why did it happen story, but like that was not the plan. When we came into work that day, we had all of the pre-show set up to do it out in the concourse, which we had done for the last 4 shows.
Right.
And for those that know, the All American Rejects, like they had to drop off the tour early because their singer lost his voice. This is public. I'm not spilling any private information here. So when they dropped off the tour, eventually Jesse McCartney ended up opening for the rest of the tour, which was the plan. But there was like a week gap. I don't remember the exact timing, where Jesse McCartney wasn't on tour yet, and the All American Rejects were off the tour. So what ended up happening is like Franklin just played a much longer set, and he ended up essentially being the opener. Well, this was one of those shows, but the problem was that he was basically going to be coming off of stage like right when we needed him to host. And I was like, we have a math problem here, guys. So literally on the day of the show, we just rewrote the whole pre-show. All right, Franklin will do it in the house. And like everyone on the Jonas team, super helpful, super accommodating, making this happen. And yeah, Franklin hosted the show from the stage. He was able to then perform as well. So obviously he had performed off stream, but he was able to perform a song in stream as well, which I think was really cool for him, like a nice moment for him to be able to like, do his thing for, a ton of people at home to see, not just the people that are in the arena. And yeah, so like stuff like that just happened. But getting back to New Year's, I mean, New Year's was a totally different beast.
But
You know, there's so much going on in Camp Jonas at all times that like a lot of things like get kicked down the road just because of timing. And it's like, all right, well, for us, once we finished November 9th in Buffalo, that was our last show.
yes.
And obviously we knew we had New Year's. We had like 7 weeks to plan for New Year's, but they had, 35 shows or something like in that 50-day span or whatever it is. So like the rest of their camp could not be solely focused on the thing that mattered to us or the thing that we were able to be solely focused on. Obviously it mattered greatly to them, but it was just more like, all right, well, we got to get through A before we get to B. And ultimately, we got really late kind of into December and started playing that show. And I ultimately wrote that entire show. Like I wrote the entire run of show, obviously working with Samsung in terms of like what they wanted to see. And, again, there are always parameters like, okay, this is how many ad breaks we're going to have. This is how many interviews we're going to have. And then obviously, the people on the Jonas team are fantastic in terms of like, I would go to them and say, all right, I would like to do these 4 interviews. These are the people I would like who could we get? And then, we put it all in the soup and come up with something. And I didn't pick the host for the show. Jack was fantastic, but that's something that's like given
Right,
to
right.
us as like, all right, this is who the host is going to be. And then but yeah, just kind of like writing the format of a show like that is a big deal to be able to, because essentially ultimately I then become like the showrunner and the stage manager and the director like all at the same time, and it's exhilarating to have that much freedom in terms of being able to do this stuff.
That's really awesome. I had no idea that you were so involved in like the whole show. But
Yeah.
with that and being so involved, you have shared so much content from behind the scenes from these shows on your social media. Was that kind of like intentional and purposeful to kind of share this with everybody? Or like what led you to kind of be like, oh, look at all these cool things we got to do? And also, what's your take on the response from the Jonas fans?
I'm historically bad at sharing things on social media. Um, Part of the reason for that is, a lot of times on set, like you're not allowed to like share things.
Mhm.
That's often. Let's say beyond that, the other thing is like when you're on set and you're working, you're like working. There's not there's
Definitely.
not a lot of time to be filming stuff. And honestly, like especially with the stuff I'm doing, and I'll kind of explain a little bit more, like you can't really half-ass it. Like it's you either put in the effort to film it and do like proper behind the scenes content, or you don't. There's some room to, do somewhere in the middle where it's like good. I mean, there are other directors that do videos like what I do that have far less complicated setups, and it still works at the level that I've done them. And the crazy part is like I have it down to a science at this point, like how I do my videos. So it really doesn't take me a ton of effort anymore. But I will say that just like the shoot, we had to plan a lot to do this. If you if you go back to my TikTok, when we did Jonas Con, I want to say I got like close to 1 million views on TikToks from Jonas Con combined.
Okay.
Um, there were just a couple different videos that hit like 250,000, 300,000. I was like, holy shit! Like I don't know how big the Jonas Brothers were. Like I had no clue. And really, to answer your question about the fan base, like that was Jonas Con was really when I got the sense of like, oh, like okay, like the Jonas Brothers have a crazy, and I was around the '90s during like Backstreet Boy and Sync Mania. Like I was in that, like I'm the same. I'm basically the same age or in the pocket of like all of those guys that were in those bands. So like I very much witnessed that, and I will say like in Sync Mania and in the year 2000 was 20 times, 100 times what the Jonas Brothers is. So like it's not lost on me what this is. And I know that the Jonas Brothers also like 15 years ago was also more insane when they were younger and whatever. Like I get it. But anyway, like coming on and I had no plan really social media for that. And the things that went viral for that, like I remember at one point I was walking through the mall. I mean, I want to say I did like 20,000 steps a day in Jonas Con because we were moving around so much. At one point, like there was a line for something, and I literally just pulled out my phone and I held it up and just walked. And then like I posted that at the TikTok, like I just sped it up. Like that video, I want to say did like 100,000 a couple hours, and I was like, "Yo, this
All
is
you did was
crazy." Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, "This is crazy." So I was like, "Okay," Shy and I went into this saying like, we need to have a concerted effort to shoot good behind the scenes on this tour to like give stuff back. Now, prior to I had like 1,100 followers on Instagram, not 11,000, 1,100.
Mhm.
Um, because my Instagram is literally just like my personal Instagram. I'd say if you followed me, I probably knew who you were or met you in real life or had like some strong connection to you. I wouldn't say that I went into this like with a plan of like, okay, this is what's gonna like blow up social media. It just sort of happened. And what's funny is MetLife, we did not do in MetLife what we did anywhere else. So I did not have a camera in the control room at MetLife. So if you go back and go through all my highlights, like there's really not much there because we had a behind the scenes shooter, but he was out shooting everything else. He was out on the floor a lot, like, shooting our guys and whatever. And so there's just a couple clips from MetLife because he happened to be in the room at the time. But again, even that was like another moment. There's a moment at the end of the concert of me just like directing the last 10 seconds, and he happened to have been in the room. And I think that video is up to like 600,000
Oh wow.
views. And so I was like, so then at the time when that's happening, you're like, all right, if this is happening like that, then we need to do like a much better job. And we knew that we were going to record the multi-view. Like that was always a plan. I actually changed around how I did the multi-view. So I have two multi-views. What you see on Instagram is one of them. It's the one that just has all the cameras on it. That's not the only thing that I'm looking at, but it paints enough of a picture of like, okay, these are all the cameras. So I changed up how I did that just so I could record that and it would make more sense. And then obviously just, I have like a DJI Osmo that I put in the truck that shoots me, and that's, that. Oh, we also recorded the comms. So most of the audio that you hear is right from the director's comms. Like it's actually recorded through Dante, which is an audio technology, but basically that's like the clean recording of the comms that the other camera operators hear. So
That's so cool.
yeah, there was a lot of planning for it, but once we planned for it from show to show, we just kind of knew what we were doing. So yeah, and once the snowball started rolling down the hill, I think that's where it was like, oh geez, like I have a video pinned on my profile that has 2 million views. That's kind of the video that like everybody's seen, and I think I got over 10,000 followers from that one video. So once you see it kind of like moving, you're like, all right, let's go, and then just a concerted effort to do more. It's like, listen, people like to see it. I have it all recorded. A lot of people have commented like, oh, I can watch the whole concert like this. I'm like, well, I have the whole concert like this. So, careful what you ask for.
Out of all of that, and it is so much, what was your favorite moment to capture from all of it?
I mean, this is the best story by far. Was the Bing Bing Bong moment.
Yes.
The
I'm so
story behind
happy you
that is,
just said that.
I mean, if you're a fan of the Jonas Brothers at all, or like, I don't know if you have like an Instagram, you saw
We'll
this like,
insert it here for sure.
Huge. A celebration with our extended family, all of you. We are thrilled to announce our greetings from 2026 New Year's Eve show at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. Bing, bing, bong. Yes, this is going to be a super special night, a celebration of everything we've shared this year and everything still to come. Yes, Joe. Artist pre-sale starts this Wednesday, November 12th at 10 a.m. Eastern, and public on sale is Thursday, November 13th at 10 a.m. Eastern. And if you can't make it, you can ring in the new year with us live on Samsung TV Plus. We love you guys so much, and we're so thankful for an unforgettable 2025. And we'll see you in 2026.
it kind of just went crazy. That moment was at the Buffalo show.
Yes.
It was the same night that we were talking about earlier, where things just kind of like changed, like a lot of last minute stuff. And um, I had been, we had a plan to shoot those promos. We were going to shoot them on the stage.
Mm.
Um, we were going to shoot them on the thrust, on like the road part of the stage, and just we were kind of running out of time, and they needed to open the doors to the arena. And I was like, are we gonna be able to do this? Like, no, like, oh dear. Uh, so we end up deciding, because here's the other thing, all of my cameras on that show were wired. And so shooting it on the stage is fine. We have cameras like right there from in the pit, but I couldn't just take a camera wirelessly and bring it to wherever.
Right.
Not that we couldn't unplug it and record in the camera, but the way that we color the cameras, like basically it was not going to work very well.
Mhm.
So we kind of needed a place that the cameras can reach. So we recorded that in the hallway, right when you like tuck under. It's called a vom, but we went right in the vom where it's like maybe 15 feet from the floor, and that was kind of like how long our cable was that we can get a camera out there. But the thing was, because it was so late, it was also getting like really close to showtime. And they had recorded those promos. Obviously, they were in the live stream that night. They recorded a couple other things that they were doing for Disney, whatever, just a couple one-liners. So we had recorded that for them. But the two pieces that were in the show, we needed to record those, get them off the cards, ingest them, crop them. Like, our dinner was coming up, and those days are long.
Yeah.
Shy has the longest day. He's usually in by 7 or 8 a.m. and he gets out at 1 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Right. I would usually come in by 10, between 10 and 11. And I was there till about midnight. So these are very long days, to say the least. And so like missing a meal is not good. Especially like when you're about to do the show, like the show's long, it's a 3 hour show. Like, yeah, being hungry would be bad. So you want to eat within that time to digest and like feel good going into the show. So we're up against dinner. The doors are opening to the arena, and I'm up against the fact that I got to get these files like ingested into the system and ready for playback. So I say all of that to say that we just had to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had the lines loaded up on a teleprompter. The guys came out. They're fantastic. They start reading the line, and so I'm standing where the camera is. The guys are in front of me, but the teleprompter is right behind me. So what I actually did is I was turned around. I had my back to the guys. I was just reading the teleprompter to make sure that they got the lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading it, okay. And so I didn't want to have to make them do anything too many times, right? Like we were just trying to get on with it. And the Bing Bing Bong thing happens. I never saw it. I heard it, but I was just like, okay, that's funny. Like the thing is, and I always say this, like my personality is actually very similar to Joe's. Like I would do that. So when I heard it, I didn't really think twice about it.
Right.
So I don't see it. They do it. I'm like, oh, okay, they got all the lines. Great. Moving on. Well, the next thing that happens is I hand the card to my assistant director. He pulls the file off the card, loads it into the media system, and then so it's ready to go. Right? He watches. He confirms it's good. Great. Then that video played during the pre-show when Frankie was on stage. I was stage managing that, so I was on the side of the stage. So I didn't see the video when it got recorded. I didn't see the video when it aired. So it just happened. I wake up the next morning, I open Instagram, and literally the first video that I see is that video with 500,000 views at the time. And this is in the morning. This is like the first thing in the morning. It's got 500,000 views on it. And now I'm seeing it for the first time where he's like this, and he's on Nick, and then he's on Kevin, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, had I seen that happen, I feel like I would have been like, I think we need to redo this. Like, this is like absurd. But because I never saw it, like, I never said anything. It aired. I think like
It was
for the
meant
betterment,
to be.
right? It was like for the betterment of everybody because I think I conservatively would have like suggested we redo it. But instead, this like massively viral thing happens, and they sold a bunch of T-shirts, and
T-shirts came out.
Exactly.
yeah, I mean,
everything worked
the t-shirt
out.
with the computer on it, like and then obviously when things like weird things happen, like an artist can either choose to lean into it or to ignore it, and I think the Jonas Brothers, like in general, like to lean into this stuff. So when they made their a lot of the videos for New Year's and they discussed like the most viral moments, like that was in there, and it's like they totally owned it and leaned into it, and just like kind of knowing my like little part in like that whole thing happening. It's just it's a great story that like now that I'm telling it, like hearing all the little pieces that sort of made it happen, where it happened, the way it happened, how it happened, and kind of getting that behind the scenes look even for myself of that was pretty interesting. It's fun. So that's got to be it. I think that one offstage moment kind of beat everything that happened on stage.
As one of your goals at Youngry is to build brands, what's a New Year's resolution you would share with a smaller brand like us or our parent company, Setlist Media, to help them grow in 2026?
I think with content in general, it's heads down and do the thing. It's um I know I'm guilty of this. I think a lot of creators are at some point, and I think the ones that are most successful probably were the ones that were the least guilty of this. Overthinking stuff that you're putting out, trying to make things perfect, re-editing things 100 times, like just do it and put it out. Certainly when we're working with a brand, there's strategy behind it, and there should always be strategy behind it. Um, I don't think just releasing content that like has no thought to it is a good idea. By any stretch of the imagination. It's not. It's a bad idea. But once you kind of have a strategy and you know what you want to do, I think like there's an expression that perfection gets in the way of of just kind of getting getting something out there, and getting away from perfection is probably as important. So that's definitely for me 2026. Like, just do the thing, just keep working, head down, and keep releasing content.
I think that's something we definitely needed to hear. I know
Yes.
Sarah and I are both big into perfectionism. It's a problem of
We're
ours.
working on it. It's okay. We're gonna get there and not
We
care at
got it.
Yeah.
but
And
yes,
by the way, I'm just as bad. I am a perfectionist. Like, I am a consummate perfectionist. It kills
I feel
me
like that's a
because
very common attribute among creatives.
yeah, and I think you have to be, right, because otherwise, like,
Yeah.
you don't want to settle for mediocrity either. And I think being a perfectionist in a lot of ways drives you to want to do better the next time.
Yes.
Um, and I've always been like that. But at the same time, if I cut a 3 hour show and there's one bad cut in there, that's the only thing I'm thinking about afterwards. And
Mhm.
that's probably unhealthy, admittedly. So I think, do as I say, not as I do on this one, but, still just want to get it out the door. And that's the goal.
Definitely. And so now we're a month into the new year, insane
Yes.
enough.
Yeah. I can't
What
believe I cannot believe it.
I know, it's insane, but what is something that you're looking forward to the rest of this year? Do you have any cool upcoming projects that you can talk about?
So the Peptide Society, which is the show that we shot during Jonas Brothers, I'm excited for that to come out. It's in post-production right now.
Oh,
It took us a long time to kind of get everything ingested, get it into post, and I've now seen episode one. I've seen version two already of episode one. We have a trailer for this show, and over the next like 2-3 months, I think we'll have the whole series done. It's an 8 episode, reality docu series. So I'm excited for that to get into the world, and kind of everything that comes with that. I think once we reach a deal with a network, I think season two for that gets shot sooner than later. And it's just funny. There's so much going on in that space where, like, the fact that we have not yet shot season two, like, with all the things going on, is like almost eating away at me because I know how much real world stuff there is. And honestly, we're probably gonna have to recreate a lot of the drama. Welcome to reality, but like, we're just gonna have to recreate it because we didn't shoot it when it happened. And so, just different governmental things that are going on, stuff like that. Um, on the music side, I mean, extremely excited to sort of see what's next on the music front. Um, I think one of the things that obviously came from the tour was exposure, exposure that I did not expect, but I got it, and I'm grateful for it. And now there are kind of just other opportunities that are sort of popping up. I think the interesting thing is, like, nothing is set in stone yet, so I'm sort of like anxiously waiting, but there's kind of a lot of stuff that could happen this year, and I'm definitely kind of pumped to see what that is.
that's really awesome. I'm so excited to find out what that is. Just out
Makes
of
two of us.
yeah, just out of curiosity, on the music side, is there any artist that's like your dream, like, oh, it's like my wish list to direct produce?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to disappoint anyone, but I did not grow up on the Jonas Brothers. That I would imagine that comes as no surprise. And by the way, I'm biggest fan. I think people, it's one of the things that people notice. Like, I know their catalog, specifically the catalog of stuff that they've played on tour.
There's a
I do not
good
know, like,
wide
yeah,
variety of their
it is. And, like, I mean, I don't know deep B sides of the Jonas Brothers. I do not. But at this point, like, I know the tour stuff as well as anybody. They were my number one artist in my Spotify Wrapped last year, so I do my homework. But I grew up on, like, more rock, alternative rock. Shinedown's my favorite band. Um, I've seen them live at least 15 times. I chased them to Sweden for a concert. I literally went to Sweden just to see Shinedown. There was no other reason for that trip. So I've been to an album release party theirs. I've gotten to meet them twice, once at the album release, and once I met them in Sweden by accident. I just kind of ended up backstage. That's a crazy story in and of itself. So, like,
another time.
yeah, that opportunity happens, like that's just mega. Um, I grew up on Metallica also, like, from a younger age. Uh, I'd be like out of body if I got to direct, a live Metallica show. And then like just in that space, like in the like rock, alternative rock, hard rock, like there's just a bunch of bands that, and I think that's what's interesting. It's like I've worked in sports for so many years. I have my sports teams that are my teams that like I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. I've never done anything specifically with Dallas Cowboys. I know, I'm sorry. It's a thing. I'm sorry. Um I worked in boxing for 10 years, and I directed either 2 or 3 fights at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. So being in the Cowboys Stadium and working, it's close. It's not the real thing. It's not the real thing. Like they had Cowboys cheerleaders at a couple of the press conferences that I directed. So okay, you're getting real. You're on the fringe. You're right
You
on
got
the
the you
fringe.
got the
You get
atmosphere. Getting a small taste.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, but like I'm a New York Rangers fan, never worked with them. Yankees, never worked with them. Um,
Just letting me
so
down.
I know, I'm sorry. So these would be great opportunities.
Mhm.
Nick, same thing. But like all the stuff I've done in sports, it's kind of, it's funny. One of my first opportunities in sports, we worked for the Justin Tuck Foundation. This goes back like 10 years. Justin Tuck was offensive lineman for the, no, he wasn't. He was a defensive, he was a defensive lineman for the Giants. And, as a Cowboys fan, I hate the Giants, but, he was cool, great opportunity. Like, uh, you know, but it just hits different when it's your thing. So
Mhm.
you could be as close, working with like major music artists is cool. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I had no idea who Chappell Roan was when I directed Chappell Roan's concert. And by the way, neither did anyone else because this was like before she hit. Like nobody had heard. She played Pink Pony Club. Nobody ever heard that song. I mean, unless you were in that lane, Amazon, this whole series, like Amazon did a really good job of finding emerging artists who were like about to blow. Like we did Benson Boone, but like I say that now, it's like, oh, of course, but like, nope, he hadn't popped yet. Warren Zeiders, who still I think hasn't popped in the same way, but like he has some big songs now. But like,
Yeah.
who? He was like some dude in a cowboy hat and a t-shirt. Like
Right.
this didn't mean anything at the time. I think even when I did Tate McRae, like uh You Broke Me First was out. It had come out during COVID, like on TikTok.
Right.
But I didn't know the name Tate McRae. Like if you played the song, I was like, oh, I know that, but I didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
So yeah, even the Jonas Brothers, obviously, like I knew they were, but they're not mine. So yeah, there are probably 10, 15, 20 bands that I would do backflips to be able to direct. And it would be interesting, like to just kind of see how I'd like to approach it because I think every music style you also approach differently. Um, with rock music, it's a lot of fast cuts and crazy camera stuff and whatever. So we'll see. Nickelback's another one. I'm sure I'm about to disappoint a bazillion people, but I really love Nickelback. So
And you know what? That's okay. I am also
You
a big
gotta
fan
like what
of
you
sports
like.
dad
Somebody's
rock.
gotta be a fan.
yeah, it's there's that that scene in um Deadpool where he, defends Nickelback as a Canadian, and it's just like, yeah, no, he's
Yeah.
right. He's right. Everybody likes Nickelback. That's it.
Yes.
Everybody's lying to themselves.
We seem to be losing your light a little bit
I
here.
was gonna say
So
we
much
went
for
from
letting
like
us
we went from
accompany
day.
you on your drive.
Well, listen. Thanks for letting me do this. We went from like daylight to sunset to
Sunset, we
like
had
pure
a
darkness.
gorgeous sunset behind you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's like the all day
before we let
podcast.
you go, because it seems like you've arrived where you
I
were
made it. I
going.
made it.
You made it. Glad to see you're safe and sound. If you want to let
Yes.
everybody know where they can find you on social media, we'll put all your links down below. But if there's anywhere specific you'd like them to say hi and take a look at all the projects that you've been doing.
Yeah, Instagram's my main one, so it's Jason underscore Aaron with one A. Um, Same thing on TikTok. I would say in the beginning of 2025, I was like super active. In the beginning of 2026, I'm like so tied to Instagram that I've been TikTok lazy, but we'll get back there. I'm TikTok's more my random thoughts that need not be on Instagram. So yeah, we keep those there.
Definitely.
Those are the two biggies.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jason. We
Yes,
are
thank
so grateful
you.
that you came to talk to us and hope that you have an incredible 2026. And I'm sure that we will be talking again.
I would love that. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is Noteful News. And our first headline today is that the live action Tangled has been casted, and Milo Manheim is Flynn Rider, which we are so excited about.
Uh,
Tegan Croft was casted as Rapunzel. And in terms of music, Nick Jonas released the first single off of his album, Sunday Best, and that's Gut Punch. I got to see Gut Punch live at the Barclays Center show, so the kind of closing night of the Greetings from Your Hometown tour. Corbin Besson, who is known
uh,
for being a member of Why Don't We, put out his solo debut EP Head First, and that
Lord
has the song
Corbin.
Blink featuring, is it Chewy from Twice? I think
Yes.
that's how you pronounce her name. And so bangers, love it. Great job, Corbin. And a duo I really wanted to release music this year, already did. So shout out noted. They're not the only people who have released music and made announcements. Because in the world of, we got a Jonas, we got a member of Why Don't We? So in the boy band realm, it has been pandemonium for the Directioners.
Let me just listen. Harry and Lily announcing on the same day already got me. And then boom, Niall. Boom, Zayn.
Not
I
to
was
mention,
like,
Zayn is doing his Vegas residency right now.
I know. It was like knockout after knockout after knockout. And on the day of
Something
filming,
is in the air.
today is January 22nd. Harry
Mhm.
Styles just announced his world tour.
Together, together,
If I don't get tickets to
one of
any
the
night of
30
the
shows
one of the
at
30 shows,
MSG.
I will end up on national news. Tonight, or well, tomorrow, midnight of the day of filming, today, Harry
January
Styles releasing
23rd.
his first single from his new album, Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally. You know who loves to kiss all the time and disco occasionally? This bitch right here. I will be kissing all the time, and I will be discoing, probably a little bit more than occasionally, because I fuck with the disco. I no, none of you have known me while Harry Styles has been an active man, while he's been an employed man, and I will not apologize for my actions. This is me. This is the real me.
This is this is
This is the real me.
Oh my goodness. I've never, we know each other well enough where I've seen you get very passionate about things. I don't think I've seen you this passionate about any release we've ever talked about.
My father is back. I am so excited. I love Harry Styles. And listen,
So do I.
I don't
Can you
think
believe it is 30 shows at Madison Square Garden? When
I
I
know.
worked there, he did a 15 show residency. What do you mean he double? I mean, I'm not surprised that he
He's
doubled the.
Billy Joel in that shit.
It's
And you know what?
insane.
Good
So
for him.
shout out Harry.
Good for him.
Love
You know
it.
what? I might have to get a job at Madison Square Garden. I
It was
don't live
really
in New
fun.
York,
It
but
was really fun. And from working the last residency, I will tell you, I had a great time. It was one of my favorite times working in that venue. So don't know. But why don't we, no pun intended, move on to a little bit more of the forecast beyond the Harry of it all?
yes, another person, another large artist is coming back from all of his residencies that he has done in Vegas over the past few years. Bruno Mars.
I'm so
Um, I
excited.
know quite a few people who are going to see him on tour. I've heard that he puts on a really good show. For being that small of a man, he puts on a great show. So,
I would love to see him perform live. So,
yeah.
Bruno Mars and team, if y'all want any social media music publication coverage, hit us up. We would love to be there and cover it. So, keep that in mind.
And another person who has just announced a tour
Yeah,
is
playing
Mr.
MSG is one of their tour dates, by the way.
Yes, is Mr. Charlie Puth, who I saw back in 2017 at Hot 99.5's Jingle Ball here in DC. Same year that Why Don't We also performed, which is kind of crazy because now
Coincidence.
from Why Don't We, Daniel CB himself will be opening for Charlie Puth specifically at Madison Square Garden.
Among many shows before that, but
Yes,
yeah,
but
guys,
most importantly, Madison Square Garden.
we are so excited and so proud. I will be there. If you're there, come find me because I will be there.
Yeah. So, and I think I think Daniel was also opening for the show that I would be at.
I think so, right? Yeah, I think he's in Virginia.
I don't remember what venue he's gonna be at. It's not Capital One though.
No, it's not DC. I think it's in Virginia.
If I'm correct, then it's Eagle Bank Arena
That
in
sounds right.
Yes, it's because it's in Fairfax. Yep, it's in
Mhm.
Fairfax.
There it is.
Which funnily enough, I saw Why Don't We at that exact same arena a few years ago. So
Isn't that wild? I think, is that all we have on the forecast coming up?
I fear that is all we have on the forecast for today, but
I feel like
it's
we
always
covered some
fun.
pretty, I feel like we covered some pretty good headlines because we had a lot to catch
Yeah.
up on from the end of
And
last year and the beginning of this year.
it's been a busy month. It's been a busy month for us.
Yes.
But you know what? We can
Today
also add
has
to
been a
the
busy
forecast.
week for us.
We can add to the real forecast, not music forecast, the
No,
snow that everyone will
yeah.
be receiving.
And I know we're in the South. I'm in the South now. What happened to my
See,
southern winter?
and I'm like just on like the cusp because I was driving home from Boston the other day and it had snowed when I was in Boston. It was great. It was about 6 inches. It was really nice. I was driving through and it only started to dwindle away a little bit from Delaware and Maryland. And even
Go
in
Hens. Oh, I know more things we can talk about. The dance Super Bowl, UDA Nationals.
Yes, gotta love UDA.
Oh, UDA. I was a cheerleader for the University of Delaware, so I went to UCA College Nationals, which is happening there at the same time. And, I love it so much. I have always watched it since I did compete there, and I had some friends take home some gold medals, which is really cool. So, shout out to the University of Tennessee. Shout out to the Minnesota dance team, University of Minnesota. Love them so much. And yeah, we have a lot to talk about in the
Too.
cheer spirit becoming mainstream, more popular, which we'll get to another time. But I think we're gonna end Noteful News here
Yes.
and see you to wrap things up. Okay, I feel like we've covered so much today. We had an incredible conversation with Jason. We had so much Noteful news to catch up on and some real news in terms of the weather. So even though this is going to come out afterwards, we hope that everybody who was in this wintry, crazy, cold weather, snow, freezing rain, ice is very safe and very warm. If you need something to watch in another winter storm, you can come hang out with us anytime you want on YouTube and Spotify, and you can find us on social media. We have an Instagram for the podcast, which is at TGL Pod, and you can find Setlist Media on Instagram, X, which was formerly Twitter, and TikTok at Setlist Media. We'll see you guys next month. Bye!